So yeah, so I built a few cars, you know, and I just wanted more of a raw feeling. I wanted something that would really, like, I just wanted something that would gain my attention every single day, you know, and that's what I think this car has done for me, because every single time I drive this thing, there's nothing that I would change. The car is just so well built, and the reason why I chose this car over an STO is because, first of all, STOs only come in rear-wheel drive. I actually hate that. I don't think that they should have done that. They should have at least released an all-wheel drive option, which they didn't. But I understand they wanted to go with the rear-wheel steering. So, you know, listen, they had to do things differently with the STO. But for me, I prefer the all-wheel drive. And also the STO is, I mean, you don't have any trunk space. Sometimes I like to put stuff in my trunk, whether I'm going to the gym or whatever the case is. I like to put stuff in my trunk, and it's a very, very suitable car for me. The all-wheel drive system is amazing. The ALA system is amazing. The STO, for me personally, it was just something that, I don't know, I felt like it looked cool in the moment, but it's one of those cars that, I mean, it looks kind of like an alien. It looks like a rocket ship that came from outer space, and I don't know how long that'll be cool. You know, this car is something that's very simple, yet it's very, very beautiful. And I think that that's the key word. I think it's the simplicity of this car and how everything is so functional and nothing is too overwhelming. So I'll give you an example. I personally fell in love with this spec just because it has everything for me, right? So you have your forged carbon in the rear, which we're gonna get there, but the wheels are gold. Now, a lot of people ask me, why'd you go with those wheels? Because they're not very common on Lambos. And the answer was pretty simple. It was just, these wheels, they actually released factory from Lamborghini only for the Performante and for the SVJ. That makes it special to me as a car enthusiast. I wanted to have something that nobody else could have. So no other model, previous Gallardo, Murcielago, you know, no models had this, the Countach. So it was something that I wanted, and you know, I looked for this car for a while, and I mean, it's beautiful. I finally got it, and the 7 months that I've driven it, it's been nothing but a dream. There's been no issues. Only thing you have to service on these cars is pretty much your oil, because these cars are extremely reliable. I would argue that this car is probably more reliable than any BMW, any Mercedes, any Audi. Actually, no, Audi's pretty reliable, but BMW and Mercedes for sure. I think that this car, you could drive it for 100,000 miles and not have any issues. So I think I want to transition now into showing you guys some of my favorite points, but on the rear of the car. So why don't we go to the rear? So let's just keep talking about this. You could zoom in and out, by the way. If you see like I'm too close in the shot, you could zoom in. So what I wanted to talk about, especially on the rear, is the forged carbon. Now, in comparison to the STO does not offer a forged carbon option. I think the way that they designed this car is so beautiful, because this piece right here is one single piece, and it goes from left all the way to right. This piece is actually $40,000 from factory. Don't ask me how I know that, but I know it's $40,000 from factory. So if you get rear-ended, I mean, that person is gonna have a pretty big bill on their insurance. This is what is known as your active aero from Lamborghini. They only did it with the Performante and the SVJ. Now, what's so cool about this is If you look here, the air is actually going to come in through here. So on the front, you have your front splitters that open up, and the air travels from inside the car and it scoops the air from here. This wing is actually hollow. So what it does is it scoops the air from here, it throws it inside of the wing. And if you look at the bottom, there's rivets. These little rivets right here are going to allow the air to escape. So when you're doing high speeds, it eliminates the drag on the car. Now, the STO, it suffers from that massive wing simply because there's too much drag up top. So like the top speed on the STO is like 15 miles per hour slower than what it is on this car because it doesn't have that functionality. Now, this is one of the things that Lamborghini implemented back in 2018, and they were so successful with this car and the SVJ, and they set records at the Nürburgring because half of this wing is opening up. So if you're taking a sharp turn, this side might open up and that side might close. So it's dumping the air through different points, and right in the front, let's go to the front. So if you look at the bottom, your ALA system here, it's gonna open up the flaps on the bottom, and you're gonna have the same exact thing. You're gonna have the car working for you, and it's, you know, it's pretty much like a cheat code, but the car drives amazing because of it. And I think that the most important thing is that the car, it'll always hold its value because of that. Because of these small intricate things, it's gonna always retain its value. And for the most part, you can't get that kind of stuff, or, you know, these kind of details in other cars. You could only get this active aero, you could only get in like this, in a GT3 RS, GT2 RS, this car, and an SVJ. So when you really think about that, that sets this car apart from pretty much what, over 99% of the cars on the market. If you're gonna pursue getting a Huracan and you're a real car enthusiast, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna want the best of the best. You're not gonna want to settle for an LP580 if you're a true car enthusiast, because you're gonna want all the extras. So the way I see it is, if you're gonna invest into a car, invest into something that is very unique. A car that, you know, has all these features that you can't get anywhere else. Now, people always ask me, why not a McLaren? Why not a Ferrari? Why not a Porsche? Let's just use a GT3 RS as an example. Now, me personally, I love large motors, which is why I have a V10. But it's not just that. I just see so much potential in this car. And now, when you have cars being released that are mostly hybrid, and the technology is just, I mean, it takes away the soul of the car, and these cars are losing so much value. This car is the opposite. I don't want to purchase a car for $330,000 and then a couple months later it's worth $200,000. You know, like, these are real problems that cars nowadays are having, and they've discontinued all the large motors for the most part because of emissions. So if you have one of these, don't sell it, because if there's a young man or a young lady out there that's growing up and this is their dream car, but they don't have the money to acquire it yet, eventually, someday they will. And if they're in the market for this car and there's none left, you dictate what the market is. So you could ask somebody for $500,000. We're gonna use the Lamborghini Mercy as an example. That car came out, it was slightly over 200,000 MSRP, and now some of them are over $1 million. Some of them are over $2 million. So I think the key component here is, you know, if you're gonna invest into a car and you're a true car enthusiast, don't just get what you can get. You gotta seek what you truly want. Make sure that it's gonna it's gonna last a long time, and it's gonna appreciate in value because, you know, nobody wants to lose money on these cars. As nice as they are to drive, it's not gonna feel that nice when you're losing $130,000 in 6 months. But yeah, I think that for the most part, that's pretty much it. And actually, that's another thing. You see how I just opened and closed that? The STO, you can't do that. The STO has 2 latches on each side, and you have to remove it and set it down on the floor. I mean, I just think this car is perfect. And as far as the interior, I'll show you guys. We got a little bit of a mess going on in there right now, but if you take a look, the interior is an interior that's timeless. Now, I think that it's timeless because opposed to your STO, your Technica, your Evo, there's a big screen here. And that screen is, obviously it's a touch screen, but not only is the system very shitty, excuse my language, but when you're touching the screen, it's like when you touch your phone and you leave fingerprints all over it. You're constantly touching the screen, there's fingerprints all over it, and because it's placed here, there's an issue with the sunlight. Because when sun is coming in through your windshield and it's directly beaming on this screen, it's extremely difficult to see what you're pressing. And for the volume options, there's no knob. There's no knob on that. What there is you have to select media, select music, select volume, and then you could put the volume up and down. Now, please tell me how is that convenient for you if you're driving? If you're driving and you have to go through all those steps, it's gonna become a nuisance. So, opposed to me just doing this and putting the volume up, they can't do that. Now, I think that this is beautiful because it literally looks like a fighter jet cockpit. And all of these buttons are functional. They kept this same setup on the SEOs, the Technicas and Evos, but they put a giant screen here. So I have all of my AC controls here. It's just very easy. It's very, you know, it's pretty straightforward. So we'll do a nice little startup now. I want you guys to hear the car, and yeah. So let's do that. So obviously when the car starts up, well actually not obviously because a lot of people don't know this. I'm gonna show you guys how certain things work on the car. There's probably a million YouTube videos like this out there, but hey, why not? So the car starts up, you're always gonna be in Strata mode. The exhaust is gonna be pretty quiet. Then you have your Sport. Turns on a little bit. I'm not sure if you guys could hear it or not. And then you have it in Corsa. So in Corsa, it's gonna be much, much louder. And I want you guys to hear an exhaust clip. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna set this microphone behind the car, and I'm gonna let you guys hear it so that you could know what I'm talking about. And then we'll go out for a drive, all right? We're gonna do a little exhaust output, just so you guys can see the differences. So I'm gonna start off in Strata, I'm gonna go to Sport, and then I'm gonna go to Corsa. So you'll hear the differences on each, all right? Loud? So it's a big difference. It's a very, very large difference. So now what I want to do with you guys is let's go on a little bit of a drive. Alrighty. Here we go. Now we could go on a nice little drive. I wonder where this is going to take us. Oh, it's going to send us back on the highway. Look at that beautiful city. Actually, this is a great spot to do a little photo shoot. We have a lift and we don't use it. There we go. Should have known better. Alrighty, here we go. Kids, don't try this at home. And make sure that if you're in a race, just do it in Mexico. I think it says I'm doing speed limit. That's pretty, that's accurate.